Okay, it's really, really important and an honor for me to be here today. As I said, I don't have any experience in researching security issues and all that, but I have read a lot about it, and I know that women are disadvantaged in migration processes, and not only now regarding these current flows to Europe, but also in the history, as Edna said. We have different examples from different parts of the world, and because of this gendered order that we have in the world, we also need to consider different consequences that men and women are experiencing. We also need to apply intersectional perspective, of course, because the issue of class here is extremely important, and also ethnicity and gender. But what I'm going to talk about here today is more what is happening with these disadvantaged women when they enter to Europe. So it's about integrational issues. And I know that this issue of integration, or the concept of integration, is very much challenged by different groups, especially from the critical analysis, where people think, okay, but we cannot talk about integration, what does it mean? And there is a lot of talk as well in the public space in Europe about assimilation processes and against multicultural societies and all that. But it's really in fact a polarized discussion. And what I'm going to talk about today, I mean, what is the problem, regards mostly the issue of the labor market, because that's what I see as a main integrational challenge. There are other issues as well, but I would like to focus on that. And how can we look, I mean, integration, as I said, there are some researchers and also observers that want to propose other term to label these processes that migrants face when they enter the new society. Some are talking about inclusion, or, I don't know, adjustment, and so on. And some people don't even want to talk about challenges and problems, because they think that if we are talking about the problems, we are stigmatizing certain groups of migrants or migrants in general. So this is a tricky issue, how to approach it. How I regard integration is more as a process. We know that this adjustment to the new society, and this is, I think, that all migrants groups have to go through that, different kind of adjustments, because especially if you are moving from the country with a low economic development and without developed democratic institutions and the rule of law and very unequal gender systems, of course there is a lot of adoption that waits from you. Not only regarding the values, which is something that we are talking very much about it, especially here in Swedish society today, but also institutions. And this is probably even more important, to how to adjust to the current institutions that we have here in Sweden or in Germany or somewhere else. So I see this as a process. This is not just state one condition in time, it's a process. And it's about the process that will lead to some kind of equality, and that migrants are not disadvantaged in different spheres of life. And actually, when we look at Europe today, especially European Union, we see that migrants are disadvantaged in almost all areas of life. They are, for example, in majority regarding unemployment, people that are unemployed. They are not participating in the labor market to the same extent, they are not voting to the same extent, they are not organized in political organization to the same extent as the natives. They have much worse health conditions, they have lower salaries, and this is something that really characterized all the societies. It's really difficult for us. I'm a political scientist, and we are really we like to work with different models and to point certain models, like this is a very successful model, and perhaps something that other European countries should look upon. But with regard to integration, we cannot say that we have this kind of successful models. Like say, okay, I mean, look, Germany, they have a successful model, or France, or Great Britain. I mean, it's really, really difficult. So we should really see this as a process, and we should also distinguish between different groups of migrants, and also gender dimension is extremely, extremely important. What is the problem? Regarding the labor market, the problem is a very big underrepresentation of immigrant women at the labor market. Here is one graph from the Swedish condition, and here it's about the labor force participation, and here you can see that the highest labor force participation is among native men. Then we have the native-born women, then we have immigrant men, and immigrant women at the bottom. And this is a very, very huge gap that is a constant through time. So women, immigrant women here in Sweden, they are not participating at the labor market to the extent that is actually expected to be something that is desirable. From the point of view with regard to the adoption to the national institutions, and this has also very severe consequences. We know that in the families where women don't work, there is also a great risk for poverty. There is a great risk to be stuck in the segregated areas, like here in Gothenburg and Stockholm and so on. And this also has consequences for women that are unemployed, because they are also excluded for certain benefits. They will have much lower pensions, and their economic autonomy is threatened here. So I see this as a very big problem, especially as a feminist. I see this as a problem, and I will always claim that this is a problem and we need to do something about it. And the question is, what should we do with that? So working life, this is something in our European societies, something that is essential for socioeconomic inclusion or integration. And there are different aspects that are important for working life. Of course, it's very important to participate at the labor market, but it's also important to have decent earnings. That's also very important, not only to work, but also to earn money. And we see the tendencies at European labor markets that, especially for low-educated people, and many of them are women that are refugees, I will come to that, that they are in many sectors not paid very much, so that would allow them to survive and to get some kind of autonomy on their own. So that's important. Decent work is also important, that you're not exploited at the labor market. Here we can talk about working hours, protection at the working place and all that. And then it's also important to be attached to the welfare institutions, and this we see very, very worrying development in many EU countries today, that two parallel systems are created, one for immigrants and one for the natives. And these are new tendencies. Perhaps Denmark has went furthest in that development to really distinguish the different kind of benefits, like for the social help, unemployment benefits, even benefits for the pensions and so on. So this is something that is also very important, and also from the perspectives that many women are not participating in the labor market, this is also affecting their attachment to the welfare institutions.